Good afternoon to you. It's certainly been an interesting spring already.
It has, hasn't it? And by the way, good news, we've got significant improvements in the economy. Economy continues to roll along. Non-farm payroll expanded to 196,000. And my rhetorical question is anybody going to, applaud that other than you and me today?
Well, I mean, it's good news. It's not great news. I remember what it was like during the Reagan recovery, where it was like, hundreds more, 800,000 jobs or something added. So it's nice to have. It's not lights out great, which, of course, when you get lights out great, you have a tendency to also get overheated economy and then things go the other direction. So it's also important to note that unemployment is at 3.8%, which is below what economists consider to be perfect unemployment.
I know. And all the indications are that our economy continues to roll along. The focus on the disputes with China, everybody's hoping. It's almost to the point where you get the impression that the media would only be satisfied. I'm talking about the major media, not the community newspapers and the community radio stations where every dollar saved is an important dollar. But these are folks that really are looking for the worst possible news.
Yeah, well, you can see also in all the discussion of NATO. It turns out that the head of NATO came to Washington this week and was telling people, yes, Donald Trump has managed to squeeze more money out of us to defend ourselves. And that sounds, mild, except that was one of the things Donald Trump ran on. It was very important. And when it looks like, this isn't going to turn out well, they hype it. When it does turn out well, they downplay it.
This is one of those situations where, and it's a little frustrating, and it's not a matter of I'm looking for positive news on the president. What I am looking for is just a sense of positive news, but it's constant. We've got to find some new crisis, some new challenge, some new difficulty or threat. And I'm getting to the point where I'm just frustrated and no longer even paying any attention. You're talking to somebody who watches no television news whatsoever. I don't watch Fox News. I don't watch NBC. I don't watch CBS. I've just given up. I don't want to hear it because I'm tired of 24 hours of negative content.
It's just part of the lefty agenda, which is jammed into literally everything.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to simply say, a comment that was made to me earlier today is that sadly, the media has become, if you will, the core source for developing the nation's narrative. And the narrative has got to be, we're in a world of hurt and we better panic.
Yeah, they really do want us to panic, and that ripples through the economy just like it ripples through the news world. And it's amazing that Trump has had the good economic coverage he's had because they bury it as much as they possibly can.
Right. There are some stories here that I definitely want to touch on in a few minutes because I know that, and I want to talk about Chick-fil-A, by the way, just give you a warning. Dan and I don't talk in advance about what we're going to be chatting about in the afternoon, but I think that's a story that really bothers me immensely. And I'm not seeing any coverage on this. And what's really distressing me is how the media is not only ignoring it, but I think it's a sort of a passive form of acceptance and agreement. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break. We've got Dan Gainor of newsbusters.org with us this afternoon. We're going to get into a few other items here in a few moments. We've got to find out about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Will the correspondents themselves show up this time? What's his prediction on that? And then what exactly is happening in Washington, D.C. as we wait impatiently, or shall we say, as Congress waits impatiently for the details of the Mueller report. My question is, will the subpoena have any value? We'll find out from that from Dan Gainor here. Just a moment on Viewpoints on the talk station. And remind you, Dan Gainor of newsbusters.org. Viewpoints on the talk station, FM 107 AM 1240. Dan Gainor of newsbusters.org with us this afternoon. Dan, a topic that is really bothering me something significantly, and I want to get your opinions about this, and for a variety of reasons. And by the way, it actually applies to the efforts, or I read earlier this week that that Congress wants to have some oversight on Fox News. But before we get to that story that really is bothering me, it's Chick-fil-A. And of course, San Antonio, the city, has denied Chick-fil-A the privileges of setting up a franchise at their airport. I saw another story earlier this week. Now, Niagara Buffalo Airport, they also are denying Chick-fil-A. And it's all on the grounds that, well, number one, the founder, Truett Cathy, has traditional values and has expressed that fact. That's all he did. I have traditional values on the concept of marriage. And then, of course, we had the boycott, claiming that this is a corporate philosophy at Chick-fil-A's around the country, which it is not. All the Chick-fil-A managers have all, they don't even have a litmus test in that regard whatsoever. None, zero. But the other story, and one that really bothers me, and this is where I'm faulting the folks who have missed the boat, and that is the topic of to whom or the organizations that are beneficiaries of Chick-fil-A. Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Salvation Army, and one other organization, and I'm not sure which that is. It's probably a organization associated with young mothers. But Salvation Army and Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and they are described in the city of San Antonio's complaint as bigoted organizations, and that is distressing me. I can't get it off my mind. Dan, I'm distressed over the fact that here Salvation Army is out all the time providing services. We describe the Salvation Army as first responders in times of need. Why is that not being? Where's the reaction to that?
Well, there is no reaction to that. Of course, there's not, because if they give reaction to that means they have to accept it happens, and they have to report differently. Stop looking at the media as if they're somehow neutral bystanders. They gave it up a long time ago.
Yeah, but this is distressing. You see all the photos of case, and for us, it's very, very compelling because of hurricanes. And the Salvation Army, for I almost 2 weeks, was serving meals at one of our facilities here, a last-minute addition to a shelter. As a matter of fact, it was the only shelter. I don't understand how anyone can look at the Salvation Army and say it's a bigoted organization. I can't tolerate it. It's bothering me badly.
I'm laughing. Sorry that you say you can't tolerate it. Of course, that's the problem. They don't tolerate the most vicious, venomous lefty tools in the toolbox are from their time. Their time. This is who they are. This is the left. And the press wants this way.
This is not acceptable. You see, I'll tell you what. It's the absence of public outrage that's bothering me too. And of course, now for anyone listening, you're hearing my public outrage on this. It's personal, but I've seen firsthand the services rendered by the Salvation Army, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Come on. Again, it's an organization trying to provide a good environment, quality experience for young athletes. It's everything about it is positive, and yet the city of San Antonio, I'm sitting here going, and by the way, speaking of Texas, I know that the Salvation Army, I know firsthand that Salvation Army was in Houston providing services following Hurricane, and I've forgotten now which that went. I'll remember it in a few moments. The hurricane 2 years ago that flooded Houston. How can anyone in the state of Texas say anything critical or negative about Salvation Army? I don't get it. I'm stressing over it.
Because you're not a die-hard doctrinaire, crazy liberal.
God knows.
The ones who are want every company and every organization to be woke.
Well, you know what?
And
I want to see those organizations and the next major natural catastrophe, hurricane, flood, earthquake, volcano. I want to see those organizations, handing out food, doing things to help people, providing assistance and services. I want to see those organizations. I am desperate to see them. I would like to know if anybody out there listening can share with me any one of those organizations that have made a contribution outside of their normal day-to-day routine. I don't believe it. And again, I'm really, and by the way, it was Hurricane Harvey. Thank you very much, Taylor. Hurricane Harvey that flooded Houston. All right, Dan, I've got a caller standing by who's going to respond to my outrage. Let's go to Ernie in Emerald Isle. Ernie, good afternoon. Yes, sir.
Lockwood, I am more outraged than you are. I don't know, but I don't think you've ever needed the help of the Salvation Army.
Oh, yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I apologize. But,
but they
when I was in bad need, they helped me.
And by the way,
they would
Ernie,
not accept payment, and I said, well, just keep it on the books, and when I can, I went back and tried to pay them something, and they said, what book?
No, Ernie, here's the other question. Here's the other question for you, Ernie. When you were in need, did they sit down and ask you questions like, are you homosexual, heterosexual, bisexual?
No, absolutely not. I was in the service, and I was easily identified as such, and
okay.
They essentially, I don't want to go great. They essentially outfitted a place that for us, for my wife and I, I obtained a place, and there was nothing in it, nothing, and we brought nothing with us. It was a rapid lightning fire move, and they gave us everything we needed to establish a household. Never asked for a dime.
I know.
And that organization has never done anything but good.
I know, and what bothers me, Ernie, is here the city of San Antonio has described them as being a bigoted organization, and of course, Chick-fil-A has contributed, a big contributor to Salvation Army. By the way, to all of those who are wondering, I'm a big supporter of Chick-fil-A as well, and thank you, Chick-fil-A, for your support for an organization that is a first responder, and also to Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I apologize, Ernie. Go ahead.
Well, listen, I'm not a big fan of Chick-fil-A. It's another fast food place, as far as I'm concerned. However, the other issue is the restraint of trade issue that facility is imposing on Chick-fil-A, and that's a whole other subject, and that riles me up. Also.
Well, and of course, the other aspect of this, and this is where I'm going to get to Dan on this one, is we are contributing to our eventual demise. Ernie, thank you very much for your call. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, sir. Dan, to that point, if it can happen to an organization like Chick-fil-A or the Salvation Army, and we're going to get to Fox News here in a moment, in essence, we're just setting government up as the ultimate arbiter. In this case, it's a city government or a state government or a federal government, and they're going to determine what you may or may not do, and based on your contributions, what kind of person you are.
Yeah, because that's really what we all want government doing.
Right.
Oh, I think you're the right kind. I mean, There was a very nice New York Times story today about China and how, or I should say China, like the president does, of how messed up China has become and how it is using social ratings and social networking and all this other stuff against people because it can. And that's really what it just comes down to. It's doing it because it can. And that's terrifying, nightmarish.
It is.
That it's going to basically decide everything you can do. I'm using an example. I have a friend of mine, husband just passed away, and I had to go visit the funeral, and I had to buy tickets on a train. Now, if you are not in the party doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you are not, an atheist and refusing to obey the party sanction on your faith, etc., you get a black mark. You can have your kids taken away from you.
Right. This is the sort of thing that, again, the media is not paying any attention to. And then I'm again, I am just distressed by this. All right, associated with this for just a few more moments, Dan, before we take the next break, and that is, I saw a story earlier this week that the members of the House have expressed interest in having some sort of oversight of the news coverage of Fox News. I'm wondering where's that story?
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, they want oversight of all of our news. I remember during the Obama administration, there was the push to get government censors in the newsroom around the country, so they could always foresee how you're doing things. Well, it's none of your damn business how we're doing things.
I know.
I have a lot of issues with the press, but I don't want to compound them by having government involved.
Well, this is coming from your neighborhood, Elijah Cummings, if I'm not mistaken, who lives there in Baltimore area, and he is set to investigate claims that a Fox News executive spiked a 2016 story, and he wants information on that. The decision by the editor to spike a story is the decision of the editor or news director or whatever. What right do they have to come and ask if a story gets spiked? And by the way, if no one knows the term...
Well, they want to say it's somehow tied to election manipulation. Like, well, no, it's not. Because what you're saying is then literally everything everybody writes about the election is subject to government interference now.
Right. I'm sitting here looking. Where's the First Amendment? First Amendment Association. I'm trying to remember. There's an organization in Washington D.C. I'm wondering where they are. I'm not seeing any reaction to this, or is it just a matter of it's buried under so many other stories associated with the Mueller report?
Yeah, well, I think everything that's self-burying right there. The media want to bury everything because if they bury everything, all they do is just talk about the Mueller report 24/7.
And by the way, for those who are spiking is a newspaper printing concept, and what was happened for those who don't know, this goes back to the hot metal days. It'll show my knowledge and experience and my age. Thank you very much. We used to have spikes on the table. We used lead in the production of our newspaper by setting type and lead slugs. And we had large amounts of lead in there, and we would take and create a lead base, some of them round, some of them square, and we would put a 10-penny nail in the middle of that, and as the lead solidified with the spike up, the pointed end up, right? And so it would sit on the table. And so what they would do is when they would look at a story, the editors, copy editors, would pencil it. They would edit the story. And if they didn't like the story, they would simply take it and turn it upside down and slam it down on the spike. And that's where it would sit until such time as either they pulled it back out or told the reporter to rewrite it, whatever. So that's where the term spiking a story comes from. And really what it was, in our case, we used, as I recall, 10-penny nails. That's how old I am. We're using lead as the base, and they sat on the corner of the editor's desk or managing editor's, copy editor's desk, and that's what they did. They would spike it. They would just turn it upside down and jam it down on the spike, and it would sit there, not go anywhere. So the story got spiked. So, Taylor, you've learned something. Dan, I'm sure you already knew it. All right, we'll take a quick break on that one. I had to share my knowledge of the industry here with Dan Gainor of newsbusters.org. Of course, you're welcome to join us if you'd like to make a call, a comment, observation, 252 area code 247-7282. And, of course, online at, via Facebook at Viewpoints on the Talk Station, or via email at viewpointsradio@hotmail.com. Stay tuned for more. We're going to get to hopefully the good, bad, and the ugly. I'll find out if Dan has that ready. Stand by for us. Viewpoints on the Talk Station, FM 107, AM 1240. Okay, I've gotten over my rant. Well, not really over it, but I've gotten it off my chest for the moment. About 45 minutes, it'll be weighing on me one more time. We have Dan Gainor of newsbusters.org with us this afternoon, and we're going to be doing the good, the bad, and the ugly here in just a moment. I'm looking forward to this, and I'm not really sure what the good, the bad, and the ugly can be this week, simply because, Dan, it's been kind of it's all mush to me. So let's start with, just for the fun of it, if there is, the good.
Oh, there is actually a good this week.
Okay.
This will surprise you. But following the Mueller report breakout, one thing that has happened is a lot of liberal outlets criticized Rachel Maddow.
Really?
And so, in fact, they the New Republic, described her frequently just as bonkers as Glenn Beck was on Fox when he was there.
Wow.
Because what happened is she would spin these crazy conspiracy theories, and now the result is they've got nothing, and she's still there spinning crazy conspiracy theories, but her ratings are down in the tank because a lot of people were unhappy with her.
Wow. Okay, so really, this is more about entertainment than it is real content, and since the real content doesn't flow with the entertainment, she's being cast aside. That's an interesting... we'll get back to this on the issue of news and entertainment, and, if you will, how entertainers are using news. All right, that's the good. Now for the bad.
Well, of course, we're now post-Mueller report.
Right.
So, and we're also pre-Mueller report because that's the way the left looks at it. So, of course, they're now, the media spin, and CNN has done this and others have done this. Now the media spin is that Barr lied. And in fact, it really does say Trump is guilty of collusion, even though we know it doesn't, because Mueller didn't come out and deny that the report, what Barr said about the report. So what they're doing is they're piling conspiracy theories on top of their conspiracy theories that were proven wrong.
Yet they criticized Rachel Maddow, and now they've gone to the other extreme of now challenging William Barr, the Attorney General, William Barr. I want to get back to this in relationship to the concept of entertainment. All right, that's the bad. What about the ugly for the week?
Well, I'm actually going to pick something just because of how frustrating I found it. One of the more popular shows in the middle of the day is The View. Mm-hmm. And The View is just an awful show filled with liberal talking points, etc. Right. Well, this week, they decided, because at least one of the people on The View, maybe more, was preggers, they decided to celebrate pregnancy. I mean, this should be a good thing. Here's the problem. Uh-huh. You've got The View singing the praises of pregnancy when they regularly go on there and sing the praises of abortion.
Right.
And it was that level of hypocrisy I found so demented and evil that I just couldn't stand it. So that's my own personal axe to grind this week.
Oh, okay. Are we going to expect a column on this one, possibly?
No, I think not. I think I just was one of my coworkers. I told one of my coworkers who used to work for me, and she wrote it up. So that was close enough.
Okay. Well, Dan, this actually just segues nicely into the question I have. And we're talking about, of course, Rachel Maddow and the fact that her ratings are in the tank because everybody's now come to the conclusion that her conspiracy theories were really outrageous. They're right up there with, Close Encounters of a Third or Fourth or a Fifth Kind. But recognizing that, and then you turn right around and you make mention of the fact that the media is now focused on William Barr, accusing him of collusion with the president or lying because he's not giving all the details associated with the Mueller report. This is one of the things I'm wondering. Recognizing that everybody's looking for eyeballs, and that is to see people looking at this website, looking at this news coverage. I mean, the whole issue of news has become literally entertainment. And I'm wondering, and I kind of alluded to my own experience over the past week. I don't watch TV anymore. I don't watch TV news at all. they used to be divided. News was news, entertainment was entertainment, more or less. Now I'm wondering, has it become so blended that it's really people are just there because it's entertainment? It's not news.
Oh, of course it's not news because it's become celebritainment.
Okay.
You look, even in politics, the focus is universally the people who make copy, people who say things it's noteworthy enough that someone's going to write about them. And it's not people who are doing policy. Policy should be making news. Instead, it's people say stupid stuff. Ocasio-Cortez, Tlaib, Omar, and others. That's what the media hype. And when they're not hyping that, they're hyping Hollywood. They're hyping athletes. They're hyping the other stars of our society, and not really focus on what everything means to the rest of us.
That is one of the great frustrations I have as well, and I say that we're not telling a story that is designed to enhance, influence, or improve that of the audience. It's basically to drive an agenda. I kind of said that at the opening. I mean, I'm frustrated over the fact that the average reader is seen only as, and it's true in the case of Google and Facebook, as the product. The reader is the product. They really don't care about the reader being the recipient and the user of the information. It's really the information providers are using the audience. Am I thinking correctly on that?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good assessment. You flesh that out a little bit for me. Give me an example of what you're thinking about.
Okay, let's back to Google and Facebook. The fact that they were now utilizing our searches for selling to advertisers. Well, the same thing holds true. Okay.
No, that's the number one example. I was making sure you and I were on the same page.
Yes. Okay.
Number one example is we're the product now.
Yeah.
We're not customer. They sell us to, and what's funny is the tech companies sell us to the other tech companies.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, I've got this data on him. I'll give you this. I got this data. And meanwhile, we are bought and sold in disturbing ways. And it's only going to get worse because now we're getting more and more to computerized healthcare.
Right.
And, that's going to track what you do and track what they know about you. Oh, well, Dan Gainor, it turns out he's got, a humpback, which for the record I don't.
Right.
But that's been proven to do this thing or that thing, or he's got this medical condition, or Dan Gainor is searching on the internet for this medical problem.
Right.
We're going to assume he has it. It's going to be part of his data, and now his insurance premium is going to go up.
Speaking of that, we posted a little item on our Viewpoints earlier this week, or maybe it was late last week. I'll have to go back and check. There's been so many things going on. But back to the issue here of the news and what we're doing. The news cycle, the celebritainment that you were just talking about a few moments ago, is really attracting us to those sites so that the site providers, the news sites, the CNNs, you name it, the New York Times, they now have captured my interest because they know what columns and stories I read. They're able to profile me and then sell that data or use that data in one fashion or another. We're not really consuming news. The news is simply bait on the hook.
The news is consuming us some days.
It is.
Yeah, but it just gets us into the funnel. Oh, you read this story. Well, now read this story, and now read this story, and we've got you hooked. Oh, you're addicted. Facebook does this thing, and Twitter does too, where they toss things into your feed that you didn't request.
Right.
Oh, well, I think you might like this. Well, no, I just want to read what I want to see. It's very customer unfriendly.
Well, what do you mean? It's customer user, and that's what they're doing is they're using the customers. I guess the thing that concerns me the most, Dan, is obviously it's happening with such regularity that the consumers themselves are now, and I'm talking about knowledgeable, educated, sophisticated. And I don't mean educated in the sense that having a high degree of education, but they no longer have we've been anesthetized, if you will, to the impacts of this. That's the thing I guess that's really bothering me. And I'm thinking we're all contributing to this problem. It's just not good.
Yeah, well, we all are part of, what's that old pogo expression? We've met the enemy and he's us.
Yep.
We've all agreed to all these plans and policies for convenience. I was getting an Amtrak ticket earlier today, and Amtrak didn't like the automated saved credit card that I had in the system. It wouldn't accept it, even though it's a legitimate credit card. It wouldn't accept it. So then I had to go to all the trouble. I'm thinking, I wish you had memorized another credit card. And that's the problem. The Google knows, or not Google, but Google Chrome knows one of my credit cards.
What?
Well, because there's a way of saving it so that I can do online shopping more easily.
Right.
But the result is, if somebody ever hacks me, then that's out there.
Exactly. All right. I want to go back. I want to tell you about this Google. You'll appreciate this in just a moment. Little radio drama. Stay with us here on Viewpoints with Dan Gainor of newsbusters.org. Again, I always remind you, go to that website on a daily basis, please, newsbusters.org. You're listening to Viewpoints. Our guest, Dan Gainor. As we finish up here with Dan Gainor of newsbusters.org, I want to share with him this little drama scene here. The caller is me, and I dial the number. Is this Gordon's Pizza? No, sir, it's Google Pizza. Oh, I must have dialed the wrong number, I say. No, sir, Google bought Gordon's Pizza last month. Oh, really, I say. I would like to order a pizza. Do you want your usual, sir? My usual, I ask? You know me? Google. According to our caller ID data sheet, the last 12 times you called, you ordered an extra large pizza with 3 cheeses, sausage, pepperoni, mushrooms, and meatballs on a thick crust. I respond, yeah, that's what I want. Google. Well, may we suggest that this time you order a pizza with ricotta, arugula, sun-dried tomatoes, and olives on a whole wheat gluten-free thin crust? What? I ask. Google. Your cholesterol is not good, sir. How the heck do you know, I ask? Well, we cross-referenced your home phone number with your medical records, and we have the result of your blood test for the last 7 years. Okay, I ask, but I do not want your rotten vegetable pizza. I already take medication for my cholesterol. Google. Excuse me, sir, but you've not taken your medication regularly. According to our database, you only purchased a box of 30 cholesterol tablets once at Drug RX Network 4 months ago. I bought more from another drugstore, I respond. Google, that doesn't show on your credit card statement. I respond, I paid in cash. And then the Google comes back, but you did not withdraw enough cash according to your bank statement. I have other sources of cash. Google says, that doesn't show on your last tax return unless you brought them using an undeclared income source, which is against the law. All right, that's the drama. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, that, Dan, it's beautiful. It's exactly what's happening. It's true.
But I mean, that while that's hyperbole of where we are right now, it's where we could be soon.
Oh, very soon. And soon.
What's bad is the young people kind of want it. Because with that comes safety
and comfort.
And they like, right.
Convenience.
They like, that government knows. They like the security of this. They like that. They are very flexible on all this. Now, I will acknowledge I spend more time on the internet than probably most of the people listening right now.
Right.
Because that's the nature of my job, and I appreciate the convenience of many of these things. I appreciate being able to go to Amazon and order almost anything. At the same time, of course, Amazon, then you wonder, is it a monopoly? I appreciate that my computer stores my credit card, but I also understand it puts me more at risk. You could live free of all this stuff, but then you lose all the benefits of modern civilization.
And of course, it's also an issue of convenience as well. Dan, it is a little frightening. All right, I want to.
Oh, it's not a little frightening. I think it's a lot frightening.
A lot frightening. It is. I want to touch on one other quick item before we wrap things up with you. I haven't really brought it up today because, quite frankly, I'm kind of tired of it. And that, of course, is the Joe Biden story. And I'm just wondering.
The Hands Across America story?
Yes. I'd like that. It is that, what's the media going to do? Are they out to trash Joe, or are they going to forget it after a period of time? Because, again, he's one of them.
They're mixed on this one because they're trying to do the dirty work of the far left liberal candidates.
Really?
But some of them think this is unfair. So Mika Brzezinski, for instance, thinks it's unfair and has been out there defending him.
Right. And so is Oprah. And so is Oprah Winfrey, you might add.
Yeah. So some of them, of course, and then the question is how many of them have skeletons in their closet that they're defending him over? I don't know. Here's the problem. We're not basing our reaction simply on his behavior.
Right.
His behavior is wrong, but it's not wrong.
Right.
It's just, okay, that's a little creepy. The problem is the implication. Since we don't know what's going on in his head, we don't know what else is going on in his life, the implication is for a lot of people, they think he's guilty of something.
Good.
And so they're convicting him without having a trial or even any evidence that he's done anything, because they look at it and say, well, a person who acts this way must be guilty of something.
And,
it doesn't mean it's true. That's where we are.
All right,
pre-crime.
Well, it is. We're wrapping it up right now, but I will just simply say, Dan, you and I have talked about this in years past. That is modus operandi for the former vice president. We've known this for years, and now all of a sudden it's become a big key issue. I like your comment, though, that the media is being used by the ultra left, the far left, and in the process, they're taking something that's been in front of our eyes for years, and they're saying, "Oh,
what?
Go ahead."
The worst part, it's been in front of their eyes, and they said nothing about it all along. Even the conservatives made the point.
Yep.
The media ignored the conservative point, and now they're caught betwixt and between on this.
All right, Dan Gainor of newsbusters.org.